what you just did. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Transportation Committee members and those who are here. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Could you call the roll, please?
Lowenthal.
Here.
Jeffries.
Here.
Ashajian.
Here.
Blumenfield. Benia. Buchanan. Ing.
Here.
Furutani.
Here.
Galgiani. Loeb. Miller. Norby.
Here.
Carter. Solorio. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, and so we will proceed. I have an announcement. Assemblymember Carter is replacing Assemblymember Portantino for today's hearing. And item number 3, which is Assembly Bill 539 by Mr. Williams, has been put over. Also, item number 8, Assembly Bill 1323 by Mr. Gatto, has also been put over. Also, please note, we will have 2 witnesses each for support and opposition, and witnesses will be limited to 2 minutes each. Others will be allowed to state their name and affiliation and position. So we're going to start off with Assembly Bill 475 by Assemblymember Butler. We welcome you, Ms. Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm here today on behalf of AB 475, and AB 475 updates current code to allow all types of plug-in electric vehicles to park in designated parking spaces that are designated for electric vehicles. AB 475 institutes a change in vocabulary that reflects the evolution of current technology. Current law on this issue was enacted in 2002, and electric vehicle technology has evolved dramatically since then. Currently, only zero-emission vehicles can park in these spaces and plug in. Today, there are a number of electric and hybrid vehicles that are low-emission vehicles that need to use the infrastructure to plug in as well. At the suggestion of committee staff, I have accepted an amendment that will require that only electric vehicles that are plugged in and charging at the facility are authorized under this bill. There are so many good reasons to promote the use of electric vehicles in California, and this bill will actually enable more Californians to operate plug-in vehicles by giving them access to the infrastructure needed to be able to plug in. AB 475 is strongly supported by a diverse transportation coalition, including General Motors, California Electric Transportation Coalition, and Plug in America, because California needs to encourage healthier living and the growth of our green economy. With me today is Mark Watts to speak on behalf of GM, and I respectfully request your aye vote. Thank you.
I move the bill.
Second.
Madam Chairman, Mark Watts, representing General Motors today. As the authors pointed out, this simply updates the law to allow the next generation of advanced technology, particularly plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, to be able to park without being redirected out under the control of the parking lot operator. A couple of examples of the cars you're looking at right now. The Chevy Volt would qualify for this. In the coming year, you'll see the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. You'll see the Ford Escape. You'll see the Hyundai, and a few other vehicles of that type, plug-in hybrids especially. One issue I noticed in the analysis, there was a discussion about costs to DMV. I pulled down the application form today and confirmed that there is a fee that would be ongoing, that would cover any expanded costs that would be accrued by the department. So we believe this is an important development to spread the advent of plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and I ask for your aye vote. Thank you very much.
Next witness, please.
Eileen Tutt. I'm the Executive Director of the California Electric Transportation Coalition, and we do support the Assembly member's bill and urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in support of this bill? Please give us your name and affiliation.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Holmes-Jen with the American Lung Association in California, and we're also supporting this bill because we're strongly in support of expanding plug-in electric vehicles and cleaner air. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Is there anyone in opposition? Any members that would like to address this bill? Address Ms. Butler? It's nice not to have any controversy, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Ms. Butler, I just wanted to say, as a strong advocate of electric vehicles, as you know, I want to support this bill today. I plan to support it. But I do have a concern that I'm going to raise. I'm a little worried that giving plug-in hybrids access to charging stalls that are currently designated for strictly EVs could have the unintended consequence of edging strictly electric vehicles out of available charging sites, especially as more plug-in hybrid cars come on the market. But I do recognize the benefits of increasing access to charging facilities so that drivers have greater confidence in the availability of charging sites, and so that plug-in hybrid users will use battery power more often and have the gas-powered engine used less, all to the benefit of improving air quality and reducing our dependence on foreign oil. So with that, do you have any closing statement?
Just really quickly, we are very encouraged on the federal and state level that we know we need a new infrastructure, and there are a lot of grants coming forward to make sure we have more electrical charging stations. And Mr. Watts, did you maybe want to comment on that?
Pardon me. You'd think I hadn't been doing this for a couple of years. As the author pointed out, there are federal grants and grant programs that have been developed. The California Energy Commission in particular is going to be providing about $1.9 million in the coming year for charging facilities, both residential and in commercial facilities. There's also a very nascent but growing, rapidly growing industry of folks who have developed charging stations that would be inputted into parking facilities in conjunction with the parking lot operators in a entrepreneurial spirit where they would charge for the installation and in some cases able to generate money for the parking lot operators. So I'm convinced we're on the cusp of not only expanding the penetration of plug-in hybrids, but as well the infrastructure from both public and private sources. Thank you.
I would agree with you. I think anything that addresses that range anxiety is something that's going to be good. Would you like to close, Ms. Butler?
Yes, I would respectfully request an aye vote from each of you so we can get California on the right path.
Thank you. Could you call the roll, please?
The actions to pass to appropriations. Lowenthal.
As amended.
As amended to appropriations. Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Jeffries.
Aye.
Jeffries, aye. Shajian.
Aye.
Shajian, aye. Blumenfield. Bonilla. Bonilla, aye. Buchanan. Buchanan, aye. Ing. Ing, aye. Bertani.
Aye.
Bertani, aye. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Logue. Miller. Miller, aye. Norby. Aye. Norby, aye. Carter. Carter, aye. Solorio. Blumenfield, aye. 12-0.
12-0, your bill is out, and I want to make a correction. Your bill was already amended.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Madam Chair and Committee.
And our next author is Assemblymember Bonilla. Assembly Bill 674.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair and members, let me first make clear that I accept the committee's suggested amendment on page 2 of the analysis. AB 674 will extend the ability of counties to authorize a $1 annual surcharge on vehicle registration in order to fund the Cal ID program. The Cal ID program is a crucial program for state and local law enforcement and helps enhance public safety. The program allows for the electronic capture of criminal suspect fingerprints and has been successful in verifying the identity of criminal suspects and also human remains. AB 674 will continue to allow the 34 counties who have chosen to enact these fees to help fund mobile fingerprint identification, iris, retinal, and facial recognition technologies. Without the passage of AB 674, the Department of Justice will once again manually scan inked fingerprint cards, which will result in significant state fiscal cost. Thank you very much. And today with me I have Curtis Hill and Lieutenant Wayne Billowit, representing our sponsors, which is the California State Sheriff's Association and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Lieutenant Wayne Billowit on behalf of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. As the author said, this is a critically important program. Those of you who want to associate what Cal ID is, think of what LiveScan is. Most of you know or have heard of what LiveScan is. Without this critical funding, LiveScan as we know it in California will not be the same. This funding is critical to its funding and its expansion. So we strongly urge your aye vote on this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Curtis Hill, representing the California State Sheriff's Association. This is a critical bill for law enforcement. As a retired 3-term sheriff, one of the 34 counties was the county that I was the sheriff at in San Benito. And I can tell you, when I was under sheriff in 1997-98, I wrote the resolution for our board to pass this. Since then, we've been funding the equipment in our county to include some remote sites for out in the education area in order to provide school teachers and volunteers and all the different community-based organizations as well to be fingerprinted to meet that requirement that we have in our communities. It's a very, very important opportunity for counties to be able to drive this program at the local level, and CSSA would urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support, give your name and affiliation.
Good afternoon, members. Lieutenant Barbara Ferguson from San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, and we're asking for your aye vote on this. We have our Cal ID is Riverside and San Bernardino combined together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Al Cooper representing Sacramento County Sheriff Scott Jones. And we have had this program since 1997 when it first originated, and we request your aye vote.
Madam Chair, members, Corey Salzillo on behalf of the California District Attorneys Association in support.
Anyone else in support? Give your name and affiliation.
Michael Radigan on behalf of the Board of Supervisors of Santa Clara County in support.
Thank you. Seeing no other witnesses in support, is there any opposition? If not, any questions from members? Mr. Jeffries?
Probably an excellent program. The challenge we have is we're being advised that this will violate Prop 26, that it's not a 2/3 vote. And so we're essentially being asked today to vote in support of something that is going to violate Prop 26. That needs to be addressed as this bill moves further through, because you'll get it out on a majority vote today, but eventually you'll face a constitutional challenge and have a significant issue there. Wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I believe it wasn't scored as needing a 2/3 vote requirement because it doesn't in any way impose a fee. What it does is allows counties to continue the collection of fees that they have already been collecting. So I believe it's in that definition of this is not in any way discussing a new fee requirement. And does that answer your question?
I
adequately?
understand. We're just receiving opposing statement that it is not going to pass Prop 26, and it is because there is being a change made here today. It is, in fact, reportedly going to run into problems with that.
Well, we certainly want to make sure that this bill is able to move forward without challenges, because it is so very, very important. So it's really critical that we are able to work together to achieve the implementation of it, not just getting it out of committee. So that is certainly something that we're going to be working on to achieve.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Ashajian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a county supervisor, I've always supported this item that's come in front of us, and it always, in a way that it has gone to a sunset and a sunrise, sunset and a sunrise, rather than put it in place for good and let's settle because it does all of us any good. But my only concern is, as we heard, if this is challenged by Prop 26, where would it stand? And is there a way that you can put in the two-thirds majority so if we're challenged, we're moving forward with the legalities rather than delay your bill to be held someplace different than here?
Yes, and I'm certainly open to that discussion to go ahead and make it a two-thirds under an urgency provision in order to make sure that we have that two-thirds vote because of the critical nature of it being implemented.
Okay. Is that doable here, Madam Chair?
No.
No.
We would address that after we go through this committee as we move forward.
Let's see. I have several folks who want to speak. Ms. Buchanan, Mr. Blumenfield, and Mr. Eng.
I guess I think this bill is important for public safety, and I think ultimately it's going to save the taxpayers money, because if we can support programs like the Live Scan, that saves paying someone the time to sit down and try and manually match all of this up, which we know is a daunting task. So I think it's a good bill. I think it's one that will improve public safety and also ultimately will save the taxpayers money. So I'd like to move the bill and suggest to my colleagues that having it, you could always, voting for it now doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give your vote on the floor if it's not a two-thirds vote, but at least it would give the message that all of us believe this is an important bill that needs to move forward, and would just urge that you can certainly re-ask the Prop 26 questions so that we make sure we do all we can to secure its passage. But thank you very much.
That was a motion and a second. Mr. Blumenfield?
I just wanted to add a comment. I think it's an important bill, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. For folks who are concerned about Prop 26 and the two-thirds issue, the simplest way to avoid that is to just vote for the bill. Well, it's true. You want two-thirds on this bill. You don't have to re-designate the bill as a two-thirds vote to meet the Prop 26 thresholds. Just make sure that two-thirds of us in the legislature vote for it, and then there's no legal challenge at all. It's a good bill. It deserves two-thirds vote, but whether it's scored as a majority vote or scored as a two-thirds vote really shouldn't concern you in terms of as a reason to oppose the bill. You like the bill, support the bill. It's going to get two-thirds, and the legal question will be a moot one.
Mr. Eng. Mr. Eng.
My only comment is I think it's a good bill. I think we should vote for it on the merits. I think the issue of raising a question of legality is, to me, kind of a red herring. If we were to be threatened every time we had a good bill that someone is going to go to court, then we would never have any legislation. Now, some people may feel that's a good thing, but that's the role of the Attorney General, to take our side and to argue that until it's a settled question. So therefore, I think that there is really no good reason. If you think that's a good bill, then don't hide behind the fact that it might be sued, because you can always find one lawyer to a bill that you're not taking the guts to approve and say there's one lawyer out there that's threatening to sue, and that's why I'm not going to vote for the bill. I think that completely vitiates your role sitting at the dais.
Mr. Ashajian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Eng, I appreciate where you're coming from. And I think if I was to be scared of lawsuits, I wouldn't be self-employed for 34 years, because any day, anytime somebody doesn't like what I do or my people who work for me do. But having a proposition in place that addresses that specific issue, I wouldn't be doing my job if I don't bring it up and see what is the understanding. I appreciate your comments, sir.
Seeing no other comments, I would just like to say thank you for taking the suggested amendments. It seems that our Ledge Council has approved this by majority vote. And so for that reason, I'm going to be supportive. And by all accounts, the fingerprint ID program has been a huge success. I can't emphasize that enough. Huge success for law enforcement in the field. I fully support continuing the program indefinitely and allowing it to evolve along with the technology. And we have a motion and a second. Do pass as amended. Could you call the roll, please? Would you like to close? Sorry about that.
I would just like to state again that this really is going to provide a tremendous amount of public safety and respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you.
Do pass as amended to appropriations. Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Jeffries.
I'm going to stay off.
Bashadjian.
Same here.
Blumenfield. Blumenfield, aye. Bonilla.
Aye.
Bonilla, aye. Buchanan. Buchanan, aye. Ing. Ing, aye. Furtani.
Aye.
Furtani, aye. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Logue. Miller. Norby. Carter. Carter, aye. Solorio. Solorio, aye.
9-0. Your bill is out, Ms. Bonilla.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next bill is Mr. Solorio, Assembly Bill 610. Welcome to that side of the podium.
Yes, it's nice over here, too. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This bill would ease the requirements necessary to establish a specialty license plate program. Before I continue, I do want to acknowledge that I'm accepting the committee's suggested amendments as author's amendments relating to the graphics. I also want to emphasize that it is the intent of this bill that no new DMV costs would be incurred because of the lowering of the pre-order threshold. Sponsoring agencies would be responsible for making up the difference between the pre-order monies and the amount that the DMV needs to start the specialty license plate program. This bill is necessary because not long ago the legislature increased the number of plates needed to be pre-ordered before the initial one was ordered. Due to that amount, quite frankly, we haven't had many agencies be able to be part of this program. For example, even such well-supported organizations like the Girl Scouts, Breast Cancer Research, Rotary, San Francisco Bay Conservancy, Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and Emergency Medical Services have tried and failed to generate the number of pre-orders, the pre-order number being 7,500. This bill would reduce the pre-order threshold to 2,500 and would allow the sponsoring state agencies to receive donations to make up for the difference to expedite the program. Although we are helping the process forward with this bill, this would not remove all the hurdles, but it would make it more feasible for an agency on behalf of a nonprofit to qualify. Testifying on behalf of this bill is Judy Mancuso, President of the Spay and Neuter License Plate Fund, and Elizabeth Martin, CEO of the Sierra Fund, as well as there may be others. With that, I ask for your aye vote.
I move the bill.
Witnesses in support.
My name is Izzy Martin. I'm the CEO of the Sierra Fund. We were the sponsors of AB 84, a bill that was co-sponsored by Mr. Tim Leslie and Mr. John Laird, bipartisan support, to try to recreate a specialty license program which had been ended by a court order in a couple of years before this bill was introduced. As the sponsors of the bill, I worked closely with your then consultant, Mr. Posner. I'm glad to see he's still with you, to try to create a program that we thought would provide an opportunity for taxpayers to self-select that they want to spend extra money for a beautiful license plate and show their support for a state agency. As the sponsors of the bill, we spent the next couple of years after we got it passed trying to work through the details, whether or not we could use the website, for example, to register license plates. The Sierra Fund went into the campaign with 4,000 ready-to-go sponsors. We could not get 7,500 people to pay us money. You're actually out there asking for people to give you money for something that they may not get for a year, maybe 2 years. Even if we had collected 7,500 license plates, it's still at that point about 8 months to a year away from the license plate being created. So it's a very difficult thing to do, and in fact, it's proven impossible. No organization to date has been able to make this work. We are very excited that Mr. Solorio has agreed to bring this issue back before the legislature, see if we can create a program that both meets the needs of the CHP and the DMV, but also allows state agencies to explore this opportunity to build support for their very important programs. I'm speaking today in support of the bill. I also represent the Trust for Public Land, who would like to be here, but we're in another hearing, and the Sierra Nevada Alliance. They were all partners, and the Sierra Business Council, in trying to get our license plate going, and we ask you to help us create this new opportunity.
Thank you. Next witness in support.
Hi, my name is Judy Mancuso, and I am the president of the California Spay and Neuter License Plate Fund. I'm here speaking on behalf of that today. I'm also a public member of the California Veterinary Medical Board. We strongly agree with the part of the bill that makes you have a sponsoring agency to do this specialty license plate. And I brought ours with me today to show to you. The graphic was done by artist and actor Pierce Brosnan. And so the money generated from this plate will go to your local governments for spay and neuter programs. And as you know, your local governments are hurting for money, especially in animal control. Animal control is always the first to get hit with budget cuts and the last to receive money. So this would subsidize them. We spend over $250 million a year on animal control. We bring in 1 million dogs and cats. We kill over 500,000. This is a lot of money for your jurisdictions. So we have spent over $200,000 in marketing, legal. We have these brochures we've sent all over the state of California. We have a website to collect the money. And the 7,500 is, Ms. Martin was telling you, is really unobtainable. There is no other nonprofit who has done as well as our group. And we have sold 2,700 license plates, over 2,700. We've taken in $180,000 to date, which is in our fund. Now, it's a shame that we can't get this program started with the DMV and start getting your local government's money. So please help us in voting for this bill today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in support? State your name and affiliation, please.
Holly Fermi with Platinum Advisors on behalf of the sponsors in Social Cash Passion and legislation. And I'm here to answer any technical questions.
Thank you.
Ed Buck, a board member with Social Compassion and Legislation and a founding member of the Southern California Golden Retriever Rescue. We very much need this to happen.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Eduardo Martinez with Carter Wedge and Associates on behalf of the Humane Society Veterinary Medical Association in support.
Thank you. Seeing no other witnesses in support, are there any witnesses in opposition? Are there any comments? Mr. Norby.
This will be cost neutral to the state. I think there's been a concern that by lowering the threshold, you don't have the same economies of scale as you had at the original threshold. It does say actually here in the bill, right, that
yes, you're right. Essentially, to simplify this,
costs would have
we're
to be
going
made up.
from 7,500 threshold to 2,500, but allowing the nonprofits in the state to take donations to make up the difference if there is a difference to be made up, so that the state can get what it needs for some administrative costs, but that everybody that's ordering these plates actually gets them.
And that wording is here in the bill. I think I know where, but this language is pretty complicated. But it was pointed out to me earlier that it would have to be made
We'll
up.
add here a little bit more.
Okay.
It looks like in appropriations, which is the next committee that you sit on, Assemblymember Norby, we will add additional language. We're going to work with the consultants, both your consultants. We've talked about this last week to make sure there's even more clarification that we will amend in appropriations before it leaves appropriations. But it's in there, but it sounds like it's a little vague, but that is clearly the intent that the author
Oh,
stated.
is it vague? I thought it was in the bill.
I think it's clear, but we're going to make it more clear.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is the intent. That's the author's intent. The sponsor's intent is to make up whatever the difference, because the cost will change from year to year. And I think the quote in the analysis says $400,000 today for startup, but 20 years from now, it'll probably be greater than that. So the actual cost is not stated in the bill, but the intent that the sponsoring agency will make up the difference in the administrative cost that is not generated from the threshold of $2,500. We are just going to need to tighten up the language on that.
And what's the DMV's position? Are they here through the chair?
We've been working closely with the DMV.
But they don't have an official position right now.
Who's here from the DMV?
Or maybe they are.
Madam Chair and members, Barbara Rooney with the DMV. We don't have a position on the bill. And as you pointed out, there's probably a need for a little clarity in the provisions, but we are interpreting the bill as 3 conditions that would need to be met, and that is the 2,500 applications, that the donations making up the difference, and as you stated, the startup costs are approximately $400,000, and then we would, affirm that money is there before we would actually begin issuing license plates.
Thank you.
One other question, if I could, Madam Chair. My understanding is the bill is content neutral. There are certain sponsors, but the same standards would apply to all groups, all nonprofit groups, regardless of what their political or social orientation was.
That's correct.
Right? So it would create the same level playing field for all.
We're trying right now.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
I just wanted to thank the author for bringing this forward and ask to be added as a co-author.
Thank you. And we will add to that next amendment.
Ms. Buchanan.
I just want to clarify. So right now, you've got the year to get the signatures, or the plates, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the money. The orders and the money.
And then if you don't reach it, you have the option of another year after that. Is that then, that 24-month period, is that then what applies to collecting the additional donations above the 2,500 so you can begin begin issuing the plates?
Well, what happens is the DMV will give you a 1-year grace
extension,
period.
right?
But what's happening to us, we launched our plate June last year. And so it's a lot to ask people, as Izzy brought up, that we want, your $50, or if it's personalized, $98, because we have to have the money in the bank to start the program. But then we are not giving you a product for maybe 2 years or more. So people are canceling their orders because it's like, well, I thought I would have had my plate by now. So as this goes on, to get to this number that has been unobtainable, again, by any group, we're going to lose people, and we don't want to lose them. We want to add them.
I understand all of that. I want to help you. I'm just trying to, it's not clear to me when I read the language in what period of time you have to have a combination of a minimum of 2,500 plates plus the additional funding required so that you can actually begin issuing the plates, because it wasn't clear to me here when I read the actual language what time period that is, how long that goes for.
The actual goal is to have it be able to receive those funds simultaneously. So from the day that we launched the plate, it would have been great if you could buy a plate and donate simultaneously, because you'd be able to get both generating as quickly as possible and reach that threshold to cover the DMV costs. And then as soon as that would happen, then it would be on board at the same time. I mean, it's unfortunate that that we are trying to not have it to where if you don't reach the goal, then you go, seek additional donations. But the time period would be the same. But the goal is to have those revenues start coming in simultaneously, the private and plate.
I would just ask, and maybe it's me looking at this again. I've got my notes here, but that as it moves forward, I have no problem supporting it. As it moves forward, you take a look at that wording to make sure it's clear that you still have the
same
the same time frames, but that you're able to reach the goal through a combination of a minimum of 2,500 license plates and the donations.
We'll work with
Because
staff to make sure
I do
that-
see where you have the same requirement that if 5 years down the road you fall down to where you've got 1,000 license plates and you don't get over the 2,500 threshold the following year, you have the discretion. And then my other question is, have you accepted the amendment that
Yes,
was
I did
recommended?
acknowledge that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, Mr. Solorio, I appreciate the desire of those who spoke and the others to establish new specialized license plates that can raise funds for worthy causes, especially in the hard economic times that we face. And I agree that current standards for such plates are perhaps too restrictive, as you pointed out. But for safety reasons, I'm uncomfortable allowing full plate graphics, and I want to thank you very much for agreeing to amend that provision out of the bill. So therefore, I recommend an aye vote on the bill as you amended it.
Thank you.
Would you like to close?
I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Do I have a motion here? Yes, there was a motion and a second. Could you call the roll, please?
The motions to pass as amended to appropriations. Lowenthal.
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Jeffries.
Aye.
Jeffries, aye. Ashajian.
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Blumenfield. Blumenfield, aye. Benia. Benia, aye. Buchanan. Buchanan, aye. Ing. Ing, aye. Furutani.
Aye.
Furutani, aye. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Logue. Logue, aye. Miller. Miller, aye. Norby. Norby, aye. Carter. Carter, aye. Solorio.
Aye.
Solorio, aye.
Yay! Thank you.
14-0, Mr. Solorio. Congratulations. Your bill is out.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you.
And if you can contain yourself, Assembly Bill 807.
People get excited.
Please
It's
present.
legislation in the works. Thank you, Chair and members. AB 807 would authorize representatives of administrative agencies responsible for permitting taxi cabs to review the driving records produced through enrollment in the voluntary employer pool notice program within the DMV. Currently, driver records can be checked every year, but as you can imagine, incidents can occur in between those annual intervals. This is a bill that is being sponsored by the Orange County Transportation Authority, and I do have with me Paul Glab, who is a board member, here to testify in support of the bill. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Please proceed.
Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Paul Glab, and I serve as a member of the Orange County Transportation Authority Board of Directors. We are here, as Mr. Solorio said, as sponsor of AB 807. OCTA is the administrator of the Orange County Taxi Administration Program, also known as OCTAP, which regulates taxi cab service in the County of Orange and its 34 cities. AB 807 would require employers of taxi cab drivers enrolled in the Employer Pull Notice Program through the DMV to produce the driving records generated through the program to the agency responsible for permitting taxi cabs. In Orange County, this would be OCTAP. When an employer enrolls in an in-employee pull notice program, the DMV will alert the employer if specific incidents occur on an employee driver's record, including if the driver's license is revoked or suspended, or if they are involved in an accident. Enrollment in an employer pull program is mandated in existing law for various professions that serve the public, including transit and charter bus drivers. The information from an employer pull program would be extremely helpful for taxi cab administrative agencies such as OCTAP to ensure that taxi cab drivers maintain a valid driver's license and safe driving habits. For instance, over the past 2 years, OCTAP has revoked 7 OCTAP driver permits due to suspended driver's licenses. 6 of these drivers had operated a taxi cab for several months with a suspended driver's license before OCTAP was informed. Taxi cabs are used in a variety of circumstances, including as a supplement to paratransit services. These passengers assume that when they ride in a taxi cab, the driver has maintained the qualifications required to obtain a permit to drive taxi cabs, including safe driving behavior and a valid driver's license. The authority granted by AB 807 would ensure that taxi cab administrative agencies can take quick action to prevent drivers with a record of unsafe driving behavior or the lack of a driver's license from continuing to transport passengers. I respectfully ask your aye vote. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Any comments? We've had a motion and a second.
I do want to acknowledge I accept the committee amendments as well as author's amendments. Thank you.
I was going to ask about that. Thank you very much.
I know you always ask, so.
Of course. Of course. If there are no comments, would you like to close?
I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Mr. Solorio, anything we can do to make the public safer when traveling with for-hire drivers, such as taxi cab drivers, I'm all for it, and I support your bill. Could you call the roll, please?
Lowenthal?
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Jeffries?
Aye.
Jeffries, aye. Ashajian?
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Blumenfield? Blumenfield, aye. Benia? Benia, aye. Buchanan? Buchanan, aye. Ing? Ing, aye. Furtani?
Aye.
Furtani, aye. Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Logue? Logue, aye. Miller? Miller, aye. Norby? Norby, aye. Carter? Carter, aye. Solorio?
Aye.
Solorio, aye. 14-0.
14-0. Your bill is out. Congratulations. We now have a bill from Mr. Jeffries, Assembly Bill 1202.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Madam Chair. I'm here today to present 1202, which would provide a slight discount on driver license registration and renewal for drivers that sign up as organ donors in California. Today, as of 8 a.m., there are 110,000 patients on the national transplant list. 21,000 are from California. 18 die each day waiting for an organ. The issue is close to my heart because two family members are also alive today because of an organ transplant program. Increasing the donor pool will most importantly save lives in the long run, but will also save the state and federal government a significant amount of money. Since 1976, the federal government has taken responsibility for all Americans who go into kidney failure. Today, this involves over 340,000 patients at a cost of $23 billion annually. These patients are on dialysis, a life-saving but high-cost treatment that costs Medicare an average of $77,000 for each patient annually. On the other hand, a kidney transplant only costs $100,000. According to Donate Life, 90% of Americans support donations, but many do not know what the next step is to take. This bill addresses that. It encourages Californians to take a closer look at becoming a registered donor. This program would be similar to the one which ran in the state of Georgia, which ran from 1995 to 2005, and it was found that drivers who were offered a discount were 40% more likely to register as donors. I should note that it is very important. This bill is contingent on federal funding of the program. My intent is only to move this bill forward through the Senate if there is a reasonable potential for funding for the program. This bill is not an immediate solution for the long term, but it could make a significant difference. If only 50% of California drivers became registered donors, that could potentially create more than 11.8 million donors. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Do you have witnesses in support or witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, comments from members. Mr. Logue and then Mr. Blumenfield.
Yeah, Mr. Jeffries, I think this is an excellent bill, and I commend you for it. I think it's a step in the right direction, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you. Well, I am certainly in strong agreement with the intent of the bill. My question, and it's more sort of a budgetary question, how do we, there's no money for the program now, correct?
That's correct.
And there's a lot of programs that we would like. How do we justify doing this one as sort of contingent upon federal funding and not all sorts of other programs that we'd like to do, when we get asked the same question all the time, is where's the money? And how do we know that there's not going to be any state funds put into this program? Because it would be a substantial cost.
We're not appropriating or asking for an appropriation of any state funds, and the bill does not move forward unless federal funds are provided by the federal government.
Would you be amenable to something that explicitly says no general fund money or special fund money, no state money shall be used for this program?
Without approval of the legislature, or just none from here on forward?
Without approval, everything could be changed.
Well, I mean, we can state an affirmative negative that there will be nothing unless we affirm it. I mean, we can do that. I'm happy to offer that amendment.
Because that's what I'd like. That would make me more comfortable here, to see something that says there's no state money going to be used. Because a lot of times the way these things end up is they start out this way and then they end up being changed at the end.
Yeah, I'm okay
and
with
that's not against. I don't mean to imply anything in terms of your intent on the program, but just how these things end up happening.
It's absolutely fine with me. If we don't have federal funds, this is not going anywhere.
Ms.
We can agree to that.
Buchanan?
You know, I've had the little pink donor button on my license ever since it came into existence. I have 5 children. They all have that. But this bill just sort of rubs me the wrong way. I think being donors is incredibly important, because we know that, one person can save the lives of many. But somehow paying people to be a donor, I just have a very difficult time with that. I would rather take the money and put it into programs to go out and do more community outreach and encourage people in that way. Because clearly, if you have 8.5 million people who have signed up to be donors, this isn't like trying to get 2,500 people for a specialized license plate. There are people out there who know the program and are aware of it. But having discounted fees and paying people, to me, that's not where we should be going. I don't know, I don't want to say that, you could sign up to be a donor and not donate or whatever, but it just, to me, is not how we should be spending taxpayer dollars. So I very much laud what you're trying to do, and I think we should have more programs that provide outreach or encourage more people to be donors. But to me, this is just not the vehicle we should have to do it. So
I understand that concern as well. I guess the counterpoint I would make is we incentivize a lot of things in the state of California. We incentivize, whether it's infrastructure, transportation, by having one group pay to assist another group. We do it with our renewable energy program, where we have ratepayers pay for one and they give to another group. We have lots of incentives in California to do the right thing. Well, I would argue that this is attempting to encourage people to do the right thing. Well, nobody's going to take a check home for $5.
But yeah, like I said, I think a better expenditure of the money would be more outreach programs and to people to encourage them.
And I understand
to be donors. I don't think this is the right vehicle. We with those programs, you're encouraging people to donate, but you're not. It's like I said, it's just a philosophical disagreement that the two of us have.
Ms. Bonilla and then Mr. Logue.
I'm concerned about the asking the DMV to administer a program, as it says here in the notes, that would then have variable driver's license fees, and I think that would potentially put an additional burden on the DMV. And I also agree with what Assemblymember Buchanan was saying, and it was what I was going to say as well, is that around the issue of organ donation, which I strongly support, education, I believe, is really the most effective way to change the low participation rates that we have here in California. And I think we do need to think of ways to increase the participation rates, but believe it's through people understanding what organ donation really can mean for the lives of their neighbors and friends and family that live around them. So that's just my perspective on it, that the intent of increasing organ donation is a very good intention, but again, it should be done through education and public outreach.
Mr. Logue.
Mr. Jeffries, if your bill were to pass and it was to be successful, do you believe it would keep the cost of health care down, help to do that? Because if there's a greater donor contributor list, then the cost of dialysis and other areas actually in the long run could save us money or not.
Yeah, obviously, the faster you can get somebody into recovery, get them out of the hospitals and the emergency rooms while they're waiting, is going to save the state and the feds a tremendous amount of money. I don't think there's any denying that. The faster you can get a patient to recovery, the faster the taxpayers save and the ratepayers save.
And did you say, I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but did you say where this was being applied that it did increase the applicants? Is that right?
Yes, it did.
And do you know what percentage by chance?
I think we're at the bottom of all the states in the nation. I think we're 45th out of all the states, and most of the states are running up in the significantly higher percentage, 50% or so. So we've got a long ways to go.
And you believe in your mind that this would help us get our numbers up and have more transplant contributors?
I don't know how it can hurt. I think when you have the ability to incentivize a program, it moves people to make a decision that, frankly, we'll all be better off with. I mean, I don't know how that hurts in the ultimate goal of trying to improve the health of Californians and get them to a speedier recovery. I mean, this won't cost the state of California a dime, and where you've agreed to an amendment that will state that. If there's no federal funds, game over.
Well, I know for a fact.
And I don't have federal funds accessible for education.
Right.
I mean, if we did, we could go that route as well, too, but we don't have that either.
I know for a fact that if you had more kidney transplants, the cost of kidney diseases would drastically decline. So in the end, that this would be a cost-saving measure. So I think it's a good bill. It's a good start, and I believe this is the right direction we should go in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to close?
Just respectfully ask for an aye vote.
And I believe you wanted to take the amendment from Mr. Blumenfield?
If you would like that done in this committee, we could do that here, or we can do that as it moves to the next, whichever
Okay.
the chair is comfortable with.
Okay. Staff thinks it's better in appropriations because it's fiscal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. My own feeling is I love what you're trying to do, because I think that what Mr. Logue says is it's true. It's better for health. It's better for people. I'm a strong believer in Donate Life. I've checked that off of my own driver's license. But I'm concerned that when people go for their license, they will check that off in order to reduce the cost rather than being fully aware of all the consequences of Donate Life, of giving their organs. And the people who are more likely to do that are lower income people who need the money, even young people, first time drivers getting their driver's licenses. So because I feel uncomfortable with that aspect of it, even though I truly admire your bringing that up, I'm going to have to stay off this bill, so I won't have a recommendation. Would you like to close? Okay. Thank you. Could you please call the roll?
Steve passed to appropriations. Lowenthal. Jeffries.
I vote aye twice.
Jeffries, aye. Ashajian.
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Blumenfield. Blumenfield, aye. Benia. No. Benia, no. Buchanan. No. Buchanan, no. Ing. Furtani.
Not voting.
Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Logue.
Aye.
Logue, aye. Miller. Aye. Miller, aye. Norby.
Aye.
Norby, aye. Carter. Aye. Carter, aye. Solorio. Aye. Solorio, aye. 9-2, the bill's out.
9-2. Your bill is out, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you. All right, our next item is actually item number 1, AB 462 by the chairwoman. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. AB 462 is one of those rare bills that actually saves us money while ensuring a healthier environment for us and, more importantly, most importantly, for our children. Currently, the DMV distributes $2 of a clean air fee to air districts for remediating air pollution. This money, among other things, allows school districts to purchase new school buses that use alternative fuels or cleaner burning diesel engines. Most of these buses are powered by compressed natural gas, and while the buses have at least a 25-year lifespan, their gas tanks have a 15-year expiration date. Many of these buses are hitting that expiration date now, when their school districts can least afford to replace the gas tank, much less the whole bus. In some cases, the fuel dispensers may need to be upgraded as well. AB 462 would allow air districts to put this money toward replacing these gas tanks, which cost $20,000, so that a school district doesn't have to shell out over $150,000 on a whole new bus, or worse, sideline the clean bus and use an older, dirtier school bus. It would also allow the money to be used to repair or upgrade deteriorated fuel dispensers. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Witnesses in support?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Paul Gonzalez on behalf of the South Coast Air Quality Management District. We are the sponsors of the bill. We'd like to thank the Assembly member for carrying this measure for us. With me today is Matt Miyasato. He is the Assistant Deputy Executive Officer of Science and Technology Advancement at South Coast AQMD to answer any technical questions, and we respectfully request your aye vote.
Thank you. Next.
Just to get my name on the record correctly, it's Dr. Matt Miyasato, the Assistant Deputy Executive Officer for Technology Advancement at the South Coast Air Quality Management District. We just strongly urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Very good. Any other witnesses? Please state your name and your position.
Tim Carmichael with the California Natural Gas Vehicle Coalition, in strong support. Appreciate the leadership of the Assemblywoman and the Air District. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Stephen Rhodes, representing LA Unified and also representing the School Transportation Coalition, which represents districts throughout California. We urge your vote. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Next.
Hello, I'm Mike Ray. I'm with the California Association of School Transportation Officials. I'm also a school transportation director in Sonoma County, a joint powers agreement of 16 school districts. And in our area, we have, this year alone, 9 buses that where the tanks need to be replaced, and there's no funding. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District does not use their discretionary funding for this. This bill would be incredibly important for us to be able to replace those buses rather than pulling our old diesel buses out of service.
Very good. Thank you. Next.
Brendan Tewig on behalf of the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, which represents the 35 executive officers from the local and regional air districts in support of the measure.
Great, thank you.
And Bonnie Holmes-Jen with the American Lung Association in California, and we've been a long-time supporter of the Lower Mission School Bus Program and are really pleased to support this bill to keep these buses on the road with updates to CNG buses. Thanks.
Anyone else in favor? Any opposition? Just one? Please state your name and who you're with.
Gene Urban on behalf. I'm Gene Urban on behalf of the Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers. I think we have more concerns and serious reservations approaching opposition. When the original Firebaugh bill was enacted, we didn't object to the notion that passenger vehicle operators should subsidize the purchase of large capital expenditures associated with school buses. But with all due respect to the proponents and the author, this is, I think, more fairly characterized as routine maintenance. I don't think you should have gotten the original grant if you didn't have a plan for maintaining it, I am very doubtful that this complies with Prop 26. And when these fees have to be extended in 2 or 3 more years, I don't believe that it complies with Prop 26 to assess a fee on the owners of passenger vehicles to pay for the routine maintenance of school buses, low emission or otherwise. So I'm just suggesting that we have a lot of work to do if we're going to continue to do this. And then lastly, I just ask, if we're going to pay to replace nozzles, are we cannibalizing the program so someone doesn't get a new school bus? We are very, very concerned that the original concept being abandoned. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Do we have anybody else to speak in opposition? Not seeing any. Any questions from the members? Not seeing any.
If I can just ask Matt to respond to that, as well as say that this was approved by Ledge Council as majority vote.
Thank you, Assemblymember Lowenthal. I guess what we would just add is that this bill already authorizes a $2 fee to pay for lower emission school bus under that program. However, as the author had mentioned, that was put into place, and these tanks have a 15-year life, whereas the buses have 25 to 30-year life. The reason for the Moyer program for funding lower emission school buses is because of the severe health impacts that unfortunately go to the youngest and most susceptible to our society, and that's children. The Moyer program also addresses large emitting sources such as trucks, agricultural equipment, and others. So we see this as an appropriate use of the funds. All we're asking is for flexibility under the program. Thank you.
Very good. Any further questions? Please close.
Thank you. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All right. Roll call, please.
Actions do pass. Lowenthal?
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Jeffries?
Off.
Ashajian?
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Blumenfield? Aye. Blumenfield, aye. Benia? Aye. Benia, aye. Buchanan? Aye. Buchanan, aye. Ing? Aye. Ing, aye. Furutani?
Aye.
Furutani, aye. Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Logue? Logue, aye. Miller? Miller, aye. Norby? Carter? Carter, aye. Solorio?
He left.
11-0.
Congratulations. It's out on 11-0.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other business?
That's it. Just
Okay, we will keep the rolls open so that members can add on for at least a few more minutes. 5 more minutes, tops. All right, thank you all very much.